welcome one more time to Hola Esch. I'm Juan Carlos Blanco, your host, and today we are with Frank Muller. This guy is so important for me. I've been waiting for this guy like 6 months or something like that. But this guy is a basketball player. He used to play in the national team from Luxembourg, and now he's playing in Dudelange, one of the strongest team in Luxembourg. I have to say so because every time you are in the top three. But this guy is a sport psychologist. Man, welcome.
Thank you, Juan Carlos, for inviting me.
There are a lot of topics to talk, Frank. I have many clients now. I have many athletes in here, and all of them, they have a situation. And I think just one of them went for a psychologist. This is what I know. One little girl, her name is Lola. She's in the national team also. But let's talk about yourself first. Mm-hmm. We are going to talk about the psychology thing later. So now you're playing for Dudelange. Mm-hmm. How do you manage your time with your job? You have 2 or 3 jobs. I don't know how many jobs you have. And then you are playing.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, especially when here in Luxembourg you don't play 100% professional, so you have a regular job, and then after that job you take the car and you drive straight to practice. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge to find that extra motivation to go to practice every night for 2 hours, and then weekends obviously as well. But I guess you have to know why you're doing it, and if you have that why, the idea of purpose behind it, I guess that's what's helping me.
You're still young, no? You're 30, 33?
33, I wouldn't call that young, but yeah.
That age is for me, it's a good age because you are experienced. Your body could have still handle the run, go back, the situation, the physical stuff. After 36, 38, you have to say, okay, perhaps it's the time to teach somebody else and just be in the bench. So physically for you, is it still a challenge? Is it still you can handle it, or perhaps you are feeling like, okay, this is the last season?
Well, it is my last season. I've already decided that, and one of the reasons is actually physically, because I have quite a lot of injuries, not bad ones, but like back pain, knee problems, twisting ankles. So yeah, it's definitely my last season, and the physical part of it, or the physical injuries or pain, whatever you want to call it, is definitely one of the reasons why I'm calling it a career.
I saw in RTL, I don't know where it was. I saw the highlights of you, and you are not the guy who is just coming once and doing some passes. You are pretty active. You are shooting, you are scoring. So I think being in your position now is tough. It is.
Yeah, it is. But on the other hand, I've played that position and that role pretty much for my entire career in Dudelange. Now, obviously, when you get older, you have other guys stepping up. So I would say your responsibility decreases a little bit, but I still have I would say a big part or a big role in Dudelange. So I'm pretty much doing a little bit of everything, or at least trying to.
Let's go to the psychologist part. Mm-hmm. When we talk about a professional athlete, people think, okay, he have to work hard, he have to be in the court, he have to be in the weight room, but never they talk about the important mental training. So can you explain us the benefits of mental training?
Try to. You're 100% right. Most athletes, but also coaches, they talk about the tactical part, the physical part, the technical. No, tactical, technical, and physical part. Yeah, right. Yeah. But very often they forget about the fourth part of it, and that's mental. And if you listen to interviews after games or competitions, most athletes, they talk about like mental aspects of the game, mental stuff. For example, we weren't focused, or we were not ready, or we didn't have the necessary confidence. But on the other hand, when you ask the same athletes or coaches, how much time of your entire week do you invest in mental training? Yeah, mostly the answer is 0 to 5%. And I think the same athletes would agree that in every sports the mental part makes at least 50% of the whole thing, of the whole success.
How much percent you said?
I don't know. I think it's hard to tell exactly, but
for you, how important it is?
It is very important, but I never give it like a specific number or a percentage. But if you ask like athletes or coaches, normally they say something in between 50 and 90%.
Wow.
And then at the same time, if you, like I said, if you ask the same athletes or coaches how much time they invest in getting better on the mental part, they say actually not that much. And for me personally, the mental aspect is so important. So if you go to competition day, so the moments where it matters most, you want your mind or your head to help you, to be your friend and not be your enemy. So you actually you cannot expect that to happen automatically. So you need to put in some work on that mental aspect as well.
Frank, when do I need a professional help? Because if I'm talking about no athletes, I'm talking about a normal person. Okay, I'm feeling like sad, I'm feeling depressed. I need to go to the psychologist. Things are not going well with my family. But when do I need as an athlete? Because for me, I could think, I'm doing pretty well. My technique is good. My body is good. Tactically, I'm on it. But something is missing. So you start to ask around and you don't know. So for you, when should be the point which is like, okay, this is the time that I need to go? Or even before, like you need to practice even if you don't need it.
Exactly. I would say that everybody needs it because it's such a huge part of sports. And one misconception of sports psychology or mental coaching is that most people think they need to have a problem to see a sports psychologist or mental coach.
Okay.
But you can get better on the mental aspect of your sports, even if you don't have any issues or any problems. The same goes with technical, physical, or tactical stuff. You can always improve. And the same goes with the mental part of the game.
So are you saying that the mental part of the game could help you in the tactical and the technique and in the physical part as well?
Also, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think they all go together. And if I'm not focused or if I don't have the confidence, obviously the other areas, that's gonna influence the other areas as well.
So at the end, you're saying that in any part of your career, you need to practice to increase your mental way how to think about sports.
Yeah, I think as an athlete, you should try to get better in every aspect of your sports. And the mental aspect is one part of it. So that's why not trying to get better in that part as well? The same you do with your technique or the athletic stuff.
Frank, for example, as me, I'm still playing. Everybody know that I'm a football player, volleyball player.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes, for example, I need I'm too stiff. I need to do some stretching, and sometimes I'm going on the internet. I say, okay, I'm gonna search for any yoga or Pilates stuff, and I'm gonna try to stretch. Let's say, how do I do if I need it? I need to read something about how to improve myself mentally, because nevertheless, the situation now with psychologists in Luxembourg is pretty hard to get an appointment.
Yeah.
So is there, I know it shouldn't be a website like, I'm feeling like that and they are going to have the answer for you. But do you have any recommendation for people to, okay, you could start to read it will depend of the problem, of course, because this question is totally general and it's not specific. But do you have any information useful for athletes?
Yeah. So I think you have to differentiate between mental health issues, so like depression, stuff like that. So that's not what a sports psychologist is there for. He doesn't treat that. That's for a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
And there, if you see you have problems in that area, if you feel down all the time, or you have problems getting up in the morning, for example, you have to seek out help and go to find a clinical psychologist or a psychotherapist.
Right. It's important to make the difference between, no?
Yeah, it's very important because as a sports psychologist, I'm actually not allowed to treat people with mental health issues such as depression or anxiety disorders. So I'm really there to for the part of performance enhancement, and obviously the well-being is part of that. So I can work with athletes on enhancing that and trying to see that the well-being level is stable. I would call it like that. But if there's a serious mental health issue, I'm not the right person to let's say fix that. So I'm really there to enhance their performance. And if you don't have any clinical issues and you really just want to enhance your performance and try to work on the mental aspect of your sports, I definitely recommend reading. Like there's a ton of books on top three. Ooh, good question. The Mindful Athletes by George Munford. Make Them Go. That's a German one though, but it's really good. Hans-Dieter Hermann. That's the sports psychologist of the German football national team.
Okay.
Yeah. And another one is The Inner Game of Tennis. Yeah. So it's tennis specific, but you can get a lot out of it for other sports as well. So yeah, definitely. But there's tons of other books. There's a lot of podcasts as well on sports psychology or mental coaching. And actually YouTube videos, watching or listening to famous athletes, how they go about the mental side of their sports. I think you can learn a lot from these guys, and just trying to be self-reflective. Ask yourself some questions: how can I get better? Or maybe what did I do during the game that helped me? What did I do that didn't help me? So really get to know yourself better, and just invest time in that part of the game. And then obviously another step, or a step further, would be contacting a sports psychologist or mental coach, whatever you want to call it.
I'm going to ask you a personal question now. I don't know if you could answer this, but for example, I'm also coaching, and sometimes I have athletes that I thinking as a coach that I made them. I create these beautiful players. I put a lot of effort, and they are who they are because I'm pushing them to be there, and I feel proud of it. Sometimes I expect that they are coming back to tell me thank you. I'm half of it because of you, because the other half I did it. Mostly the time they don't come to me. Few of them I really tried, but I couldn't, because perhaps I didn't have a good eyes, perhaps I didn't have a good interpretation how to communicate my message. Perhaps they gave up during the process. So is it for you the same? Because let's say I'm an athlete, I have everything, but my mental level is not that good. So there you come, you influence, or you help the athlete, and the athlete just went to the level. And then you say, you see, Frank Muller, just contact me. It's like that for you, or?
Maybe more so at the beginning of my career. I guess I evaluated my performance as a sports psychologist a lot on the success of the athletes I was working with. I think it's an ego thing also for a lot of coaches. So you have to ask yourself, why am I coaching or why am I doing this? And I hope so that's not because you want to get to get a huge ego boost, but I hope you're doing it for the athletes. And if you think that maybe you helped some athletes to get better or have a successful career, I think that in itself should be enough. And obviously, if they come to you and they say, "Thank you, Juan Carlos, you helped me a lot," or "Thank you, Frank, I did this because of you," obviously it's a nice bonus to have. But you should never be that in my eyes. Because if you say I'm responsible for their success, totally the other side goes as well. Because if they're not successful and they screw up, I mean, you have to take their responsibility as well. And I don't think that's the case. I mean, athletes are surrounded by so many people, like especially professional athletes. They have like few coaches, they have nutritionists, they have sports psychologists, they have athletic coaches. So who are we to say, yeah, I did this. I'm 100% responsible for their success. So I think it should be enough if you say, okay, maybe you don't know. I don't know. Maybe I was a little part in it, and hey, that's great. I mean, I helped a young athlete or a young person to get better, to fulfill their dreams, and I think that should be the purpose. We should all be in that for the athlete and not for ourselves.
Man, I like your answer. It was pretty good. Yeah, because I have talked the same. I have the same conversation with few coaches. Few of them, they were acting like that. She is mine. Yeah. Like it belongs to me, and she wouldn't be that good if I wouldn't help. And it's your ego talking there.
Obviously, yeah.
It's just that. Just talking a bit more about your career. For example, if I take athletes and I see he has some weakness in the physical way, so I'm going to say, okay, in 2 months, you are going to be built. And I'm thinking because he has some characteristics that in 2 months he's going to be bigger. It's the same for you. It depends on the person, but can you think how far or how fast is going to be the progress working as you wish in the mental aspect?
Yeah. Maybe one thing before, because you talked about the ego. Ego is the Enemy, a really good book as well. It's not sport specific. Ryan Holiday is the author. It's really good because I think in a lot of aspects in our lives, not only sports, like our ego is the enemy. It's a big problem. And good just quick thought of that. Yeah. To answer your question, I mean, if I see an athlete the first time, the same with you as a coach, you can see, okay, is that person motivated? Is he or she ready to put in the work, to follow my instructions? And obviously, if an athlete is ready to do that, I can tell, okay, probably the work is going to be a little easier and the progress is going to be a little faster than another athlete comes in there because the coach sent him and he doesn't really want to be there. He doesn't really want to work with me. Then obviously, I know it's going to be tough to see any progress. But I think you can never know, okay, this is going to take 4 or 5 weeks or maybe 6 months. That's really hard to tell. It's really individual.
It's really hard that because every time we're expecting results as fast as possible. You know, talking about athletes, I wanna shoot from 3 and from 10, I want to put 10 inside. And they don't know that perhaps your technique have to be fixed and you're gonna take out of 1 year. And say, 1 year, why? I'm watching the NBA and they're just putting every ball inside. So talking about the mental aspect should be, for me, this is what I imagine, it should be even more complex. Because perhaps technically or tactically no, physically you could order yourself how to do, but mentally, how to control the thoughts, how to control your emotions is a bit difficult, no?
Yeah, I mean, if you have had particular thought patterns, so the way you think, and you have to establish those over, 20 or 25 years of your life, obviously talking to a sports psychologist 1 or 2 times is not going to change that. So you have to constantly work on those things, and they can take a lot of time. But sometimes it's just athletes just need like a quick, I don't like the word, but fix, or maybe just a little inspiration, or maybe reframing. We call it reframing. If you change your perspective and just look at your issue, your problem from a different perspective, and sometimes just realizing stuff already is the first step towards the solution. So again, sometimes it takes a lot of time. Sometimes, it's just one session that's enough. So it's really individual.
Frank, now let's talk about how do I set my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think talking about ego, talking about ambitions. When I'm an athlete, a young athlete now, like us, how do I set my ambitions? Because social media is pushing us hard. You have to be the best. You have to look professional. You don't know even how to throw a ball, but you need to wear the best basketball shoes. So everybody is pushing you to be the best, not to enjoy, not to. So how do you recommend to set the goals? They could be achievable. Just go for it as high as possible. Here in Luxembourg, when I talk about sports, I came with that culture from another countries that when a sport, if you do a sport, go 100% for it. But here, because of the system, it's good to study also. Study and do a sport. So there are 2 questions. The first one is going to be, how do you set your goals? And the second one is, okay, it should be something else with your goals. What is going to help you? Do you know what I mean?
No, second one.
The second one is I'm setting my goals, but the goal could come with the studies. The goal could come with the language. The goal, like something that is going to help you to achieve your goal.
Yeah. Great question, really important question. I think the problem is that nowadays athletes, but probably coach as well, or we as society, we are not patient anymore. So we want everything and we want it today. And very often we are not ready to put in the work and see the big picture. And I think that's really important. I think that you should have high dreams and a high vision and set high goals for yourself, but you should also know what it takes to get there. So not only set that high goal, but also think about a plan. How do I get there? What do I have to do on a daily basis?
Do you know how to make a plan?
Yeah, I do. That's actually goal setting is a main topic in sports psychology. You start with the end goal, so your vision, what you want to achieve, and then second step is, or second question I always ask is, why do you want to achieve that? Because very often athletes they have a goal, but they cannot really explain you why they want to achieve it, and very often it's not their own goal. Maybe it's the goal of their parents, who are super ambitious, that's a problem for a lot of young athletes. You have to know why you want to achieve a particular goal. And then the next step is that you take that big goal. You can a great analogy is a mountain. So you want to get to the top, the summit of the mountain, but there's like a lot of steps in between.
Okay.
So then you look at the steps in between. What do I have to do today? What do I have to do in a week's time? What do I have to do the next month? And what do I have to do in a year? So really take your long-term goal and divide it in short-term goals. And
are you saying that I should do that like in the computer? Can I do it in the computer? Can I do it like a mapping? I'm gonna just put it in and then.
I think that's a good point too. I think it helps to to visualize your goal, not only in your head. I think it's always helpful to write stuff down. Make a map out of it. I mean, especially with kids or young athletes, you can create great posters and have a little fun with it. Be creative. But it's really important to that visual aspect, so that you see your goal in front of you and hang it in as a poster, hang it in your room, so you get reminded of it every day. And that poster can be on bad days, it can remind you to put in that work, even if you don't feel like it.
Have you done that for yourself?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Really?
Not at the beginning of my career, but as I developed as a sports psychologist, or my knowledge in the mental part of sports, I try to obviously to use those techniques for myself as well.
And it works.
It helps. It definitely helps. Like I said before, take the example of this season. It's my last season. It's not an easy one because of all the work and the injuries, but I have set particular goals for myself this season, and I have also set or divided that, let's say, that end goal in short-term goals. So I do know what I have to do on a daily basis. But I have to admit, I don't have a poster on my wall at home. But I like you, I write down a lot.
You are telling me that? You remind me of myself, because I have done like twice in my life. Mm-hmm. The first time I did it, I just put like random and no important things, like material things. Okay, I would like to buy this cup. Mm-hmm. And then I got it, and I said, okay, it works. Yeah. But then I have a beautiful girl called Nicole. Yeah. Is my oldest daughter. She's crazy about it. And every year she's putting, for me sometimes, like, come on, this is too far. Much. And she got it. Mm-hmm. So it's a funny way how to... You are telling me that, it's like, yeah, it's true. It's not like, okay, we are not talking about religions or believing or not. We are talking about putting on play your thoughts, your goals.
Yes, but definitely. And I mean, there's like job that does that in banks or big companies, project managers. They do that. So they have an end goal, and they draw up or fixing like a plan, and with every little step the company has to take to reach that end goal. And I mean, if there's a job that only does that for companies that are like huge companies that make billions and billions of dollars, why would we not use the same principle for us as individuals?
You want to make money? Call Frank. We're not talking about that, but it's a really useful tool.
Yeah, it is. And maybe another aspect that we haven't talked about is that when you set your goal, your end goal, try to visualize it. Like, so really see yourself achieving that goal. Doesn't matter if it's like a goal in sports or personal goal, or maybe a goal in your job. Try to see yourself accomplishing that. That's really powerful as well.
We are going to talk about the visualization, but before, you have to answer the second question.
What was the second question again? I'm sorry.
I forgot it. I was talking about...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think for like in Luxembourg, we have like a particular situation. Very often, young kids, they have their dreams, their sports dream, their sports vision, and then suddenly it's called reality hits them, and they see, okay, maybe in a regular job, I can make more money more easily. Yeah. And that's sad, because obviously the alternative options here in Luxembourg are really attractive. I mean, salaries are high.
A lot. Yeah.
And you have to have a real passion for your sports. You say, no, I'm trying to be a professional athlete with everything that comes with it, the good and the bad stuff.
Taking a risk at the end is taking a huge risk.
It's a huge risk, obviously, but I think you can minimize that risk in having a dual career. A dual career, it's what we call when you do your sports and your academics, or maybe later your job at the same time, simultaneously. And to answer your questions, that can help a lot, like having another passion or other interest besides your sports. Because very often, if you only see yourself as an athlete, we call that athletic or identity foreclosure. So you only see yourself as an athlete. It can have a huge negative impact when, for example, your career is ending because of an injury. Okay, if I've only seen myself an athlete. Now I'm not an athlete anymore. What do I have? So actually, it's beneficial to have other passions and interests besides your sports.
So what we could tell them now is set your goal as an athlete, but also set your goal as a something else.
Yeah, and nowadays it's possible. I think it's easier than a couple of years ago, because there's actually dual career advisors that help you at your school. People that can help you to really find the perfect sport or maybe university where you can combine both.
Nice, man.
And yeah, it's really beneficial for you as an athlete, but also as a human being. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Nice. Frank, let's talk about visualization. The visualization, as I know, my knowledge about visualization is just to see yourself or to see the situation, and you are like practicing, like you are doing the training. Okay, I'm seeing myself playing this weekend good, and I'm doing that, and I'm celebrating. So this is one way of visualization. Can you explain me better, because this is just me talking about that, but no a professional?
A pretty good explanation, I have to
I
say. Visualization or mental imagery is actually...
How do you call it?
Mental imagery.
Okay.
So, you see in your head, you see yourself performing actions or going through situations that have not yet occurred. And it's helping because it's preparing your brain for those specific situations. It's actually, it's like rehearsal before you get into the situation. And you can use it for a lot of different things. I mean, like you said, you can visualize maybe that you play in a gym, in a specific gym in front of a lot of spectators to maybe regulate your
Which
nervousness.
Is not possible now.
Right now, it's not possible.
You're gonna play by yourself, but you're playing good.
Yeah, or to practice a specific technical move or technique in your head. You can also use it to, if you have like problems to control your emotions during a game, just go through their head specific situations where normally you might lose your cool, and just see in your head how you would react in an optimal way. And just by rehearsing that, practicing that in your head, it will help you in reality as well. Because the science behind it, or the principle behind it, is that very often our brain cannot differentiate if something happens in reality or if we just visualizing it. So that's why when you sleep and you dream, sometimes you wake up and you make like a sudden move because your brain thought,
and you hit your wife and you hit whatever he's around.
Well, you should not hit your wife, Juan Carlos, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, that's the principle behind it.
Okay.
And they've done a ton of studies behind it, where they actually looked at the brain. They did like brain scans, and they saw that the same areas of your brain were active when visualizing than if you had done the action in reality.
Wow. Today we are talking with Frank Muller. Man, extraordinary episode for me. I'm just learning as much as possible. What is happening, Frank, when the visualization is taking me to the negative way? Because sometimes I'm doing my visualization, but also I'm thinking about one action, or a referee giving a yellow card, which never happened. But like, how do I control my thoughts during my visualization?
Yeah. Well, for once, if you visualize, for example, that the referee gives you a yellow card, and you can visualize, like I said before, like the optimal way how you want to react to it. So that is, we call that if-then plans. So visualizing if-then plans. If that and that situation happens, I want to react that and that way.
Okay.
So you already have like a plan beforehand. And if you visualize that plan, or first of all you fix it, you write it down, and then you rehearse it in your head, you are better prepared when it actually happens.
You are saying that it's also good to visualize the possible problems or trouble that you could have.
Yeah, but not only the problems,
the solution as
with
well.
the solution. Yeah.
Right.
That's really powerful. And then when you speak about visualizing, particular techniques or like particular technical moves, you should definitely visualize the positive outcome of it. You should visualize the correct way to perform the technique. And that's very often why I ask a coach who should know the perfect technique to write it down, how it should be done. Then with the athlete together, I look at that description. I say, okay, try to visualize that. So it's the same when you practice. If you practice the wrong move in reality over and over, it's not going to do you any good. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with visualization. So you should visualize the correct move, obviously, because if not, you can do more harm than good.
Great. Talking about visualization, if you are in a person which is focused or get focused easily, it could go totally wrong, because you start to think about the game, but then you start to think about the homework, and then you start to think about your pet. How is any practice, is any exercise that I could do in order to control my thoughts, in order to be more focusing in my goals, and be focusing during the meditation? Do you have any technique for that?
There's a lot of techniques, and actually the book I refer to, The Mindful Athlete, talks about mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And mindfulness, I mean, it's very old. It's like Buddhist techniques, but over the last decades, mindfulness techniques or practices have come to our Western world, and over the last years, actually into sports. And we or they or whoever, like scientists, have found out that mindfulness is really beneficial in sport as well. Because what is mindfulness? It is actually being in the moment. And being non-judgmental, so accepting what is happening in the moment. And that is, in my eyes, is the secret for high performance in sport as well. I just focus on the moment right now, what is in front of me, what is important, and not the shots that I missed 2 minutes ago, or maybe the negative consequences that could happen in 5 minutes. I just focus in the moment, and I try to be in the moment as good as I can.
Really difficult, Frank, because how we rise every time you are thinking about the future. You are 17, you have to think which career you're going to study, you have to think where you're going to work, you have to think how much money you're going to produce. So every time you are used to think not at the moment, you have to think in the future. Mm-hmm. And the consequence and all the aspect. So what you're saying is, it sounds easy and nice, but it's difficult.
Yeah, definitely. It's always easier to. It's simple. The context, it's simple, but it's not easy to do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you should never think about your future. We talked about goal setting. Yeah. I mean, you make a plan for the future, but I think what is important is that you have the ability to kind of decide. Okay, do I want to think about the future now, or do I want to be in the moment? So
nice, man.
So that you decide, and not your brain decides for yourself.
Great.
Because our brain, like just how it has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, our brain is not perfectly created for our modern world, right? We have a lot of parts in our brain that are the same parts than a couple of 100,000 years ago. So our brain's only job is that we survive. And our brain doesn't really care if we are happy or if we score a goal or whatever. That's why also, because I think you want to talk about stress as well, we can get back to that later on. But that's why we have a lot of like those stress reactions in situations where in situations that are actually not that bad or are not life-threatening, but because our brain is wired the way it is wired, and it cares about surviving or not surviving, our stress reactions are sometimes, or very often, over the top.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Just you are talking like that, and I'm thinking, what is stressful for me is a joke for somebody else, because stress, if I play bad, passing my years, if I play bad, it means that I could get out of the team, and my family was depending of that money. So the stress of just practice, do I practice bad? It was, it took me nights that I couldn't sleep because of it. and I was thinking about the possible situation that could happen in the positive way and then the negative way. Like I was imagining the next day going to practice and they say, just sign here, you're fired. Or doing a better practice. So it was a nightmare for me as a volleyball player. I play in one country. I remember it was my highest contract, and I was so stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the season, I said, okay, I felt released because they couldn't take another player. But I should be, now that it was 10, 12 years ago, now I was thinking that I should have think, okay, let's just do my best, and whatever happened, it happened.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
but again, easier said than done. And I think an important message, especially for young athletes, is also that being stressed out or being scared or having doubt is normal. It's totally normal, and it's fine as well. Because it's the way our brain is wired and is functioning, and everybody has that. Everybody who's listening to the podcast right now has worries, has issues, has problems, is stressed out in certain situations. So I think the first and important message is it's normal and also good at
you have
times.
to accept that being afraid and doubts and all these negative, we call it negative thoughts, are normal.
Yeah, accepting is. I'm grateful that you brought acceptance up. I think it's the first and probably most important step. It's if I try to fight all my so-called negative emotions, and I lose so much energy over it, instead of just accepting it and accepting that life has a lot of up and downs and sports has a lot of up and downs, and just accept it, and it will pass. Emotions are like the weather. Sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's cloudy, but it will pass. And I think that analogy is really helpful for everybody, but especially young athletes, because they think, I'm not allowed to be stressed. Oh no, I'm nervous before the game. What's wrong with me? All the others, they are never nervous. They are super self-confident. And if I look on social media, they all have this perfect lives, and that's BS. That's not true. And I know it because I work with tons of athletes, elite athletes, and also if you listen to interviews of people like Michael Phelps, he's coming out, and I think it's great that those people show that they are vulnerable as well. And I think that's a really important message, that you should not try to be perfect and not have negative emotions. I think that's the way we've been raised up in our society, that you are not allowed to have so-called negative emotions, and if you have those, don't show them. And in my eyes, that's super destructive for a lot of people, especially young people.
So the key word for you will be accepted.
Yeah, acceptance, and then again set a goal. Okay, what can I do now? Because you can achieve all your goals even if you feel down or you feel bad. I don't have to feel great to make a layup in basketball. Or to go to work or do a good project. People think that they first have to feel confident and great before they can attack their goals, and it's different. The actions of confidence come before the feelings of confidence. Oh, another good book, The Confidence.
That's good,
because that's not from me. I took that from a book, The Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. That's
all right.
Probably my favorite. Yeah.
We are gonna write it down. We are gonna put it in the description so you could go and search for it. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good idea. I wanted to talk about emotion management, but we are talking already about how to control them. Yeah.
And there I think it's the problem. We try to control our emotions, and emotions, you cannot control them. If, for example, if I take a gun and I put it to your head and I say, okay, feel happy now, or I shoot you, can you feel happy? So you cannot control your emotions. Like I said, you cannot control the weather. There will be days where where it's cloudy. There will be days where it's sunny. There will be days that it's raining. You cannot control your emotions. What you can control are your actions, and you should accept your emotions and know that no matter how I feel today, I can still take steps towards my goals. And I think that's the most important message.
Frank, we were talking about a lot of things. One thing that for me is pretty important is talking about self-confidence. I wanted to talk about it at the end of the episode because for me, self-confidence, now we spoke already about the tools, how to control, how to manage your emotions, but talking about self-confidence is a abstractive topic because how to build your confidence, it could take you to the limit that you are too confident of yourself and it's not that good, as I know, or the way around that you are totally insecure about yourself. So how is the point that I should take care of that specific topic, self-confidence?
Yeah, I think self-confidence is major part of success in sports, and you should actually work on it constantly, no matter how you do it. And I think we've already talked about a couple of things you can do. For example, accepting your emotions and knowing that you can always take actions towards your goals, no matter how you feel. And every time you take a step and you kind of reach a goal of yourself, it's gonna help your confidence. Then the way you talk to yourself, like your self-talk, because we are constant. Our thoughts in our heads are basically talking. We are talking to ourselves all the time, and here again, you cannot control all your thoughts. But if you are aware of your thoughts and how negative we often talk to ourselves, you can stop it and kind of respond to those negative talks with more positive messages. And I think that's a big problem. That a lot of people are not aware how self-destructive their thoughts are. If you ask young athletes, or not even young athletes, a lot of athletes, what did you think at that particular time? Very often it's something like, I suck, I'm so bad, I'm the worst.
You are describing me few athletes that I have that I see a huge potential, and they're saying, I suck.
Yeah, and then what you can do is ask them, would you ever talk to a teammate like that? And they would say, no, never. And why? Why not? Well, because I would destroy their morale, I would destroy their self-confidence, it would basically not help. And then the next question you can ask is, okay, so why
do you do it to yourself?
Yeah, if it's not helpful, if it's not helpful speaking or talking that way to others, do you really think it's helpful if you talk to yourself that way?
Wow, good one, man.
So yeah, that's self-talk is a big part in self-confidence as well. And then just putting in the work. I mean, you cannot expect being super confident in a particular skill like basketball, 3-point shooting, if you never practice it. I mean, you have, like I said, again, you have to put in the work first, and then the feelings of confidence will come later on. And then obviously the environment plays a big part in that too. I mean, you need a coach or teammates that believe in you, that cheer you up. That's important as well. And another tool we talked about is visualization. Like really see yourself succeeding before you actually do it in reality.
How helpful, because you are talking about that, and how helpful can we be as a coach, can we be as a parent, or as a just normal friend to some athletes? Because if you're saying, you shouldn't do that, perhaps that person is going to take it and is not going to do it at all. Or even if, for example, I have some players that they don't really believe that they could pass one service to the other side. And the first thing I'm telling them is, I can't believe more than you. And I know that you could do it.
Yeah.
Just do that and that. And they do it. It's like, I did it, but I'm doing it because you are here. When you are not, I can pass the ball.
Yeah.
So it's a way how to change the mentality.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Like coaches, especially youth coaches, it's so important. I mean, you kind of lay the cornerstones of their confidence. Yeah. I mean, if you have a destructive coach in youth, it's going to be hard for youth athletes to develop that confidence. Obviously, there are some that naturally might have such a high level of confidence, also because of their parents, the way they've been raised up, that can sustain such a destructive way of coaching. But I would say, like, in generally, like, a coach should be really encouraging and positive. That doesn't mean that he has to, that he can never criticize his player. Obviously, that's important too. And I think, like, the feedback is really important, but you should know how you give feedback, and never criticize the person, but just the action. And also, if you criticize him, show him how, or tell him how he or she can do it better. So really be a help for those athletes.
Let's talk about another topic that I really like to talk is dealing with the injuries, dealing with the pain. All of us, we have suffered injuries, some soft, some really heavy injuries. And every time the question is, when all of them, they are suffering, they say, okay, it's the time to stop, it's the time to quit, it's the time to, I don't know if my pain is more physical than mentally. So how do you deal as a psychologist with that? Because for you, somebody's coming and you don't have a thing like you are gonna measure how painful it is for you. And no, it's just 5. So come on, don't be that soft. How do you manage to control injuries and emotions during that moment, that period?
Yeah, I'm really happy that you brought that up, because that's, I think, the psychological part of sports injuries are so important, but really, really often, or most of the times, overlooked. And it's so important to work on that, on that mental aspect as well during sports injuries. So first thing, it's really important is like that an injured athlete has the feeling that you support them, that you are still there for them. That could be me as a sports psychologist, but also the coach and team members should still be there for that athlete, because very often social isolation is a consequence of sports injury, because you feel like you're not part of the team anymore. You don't feel like going to practice. Why should I go to practice? I'm injured anyway. And then you kind of socially disconnect from your team, and that's not gonna help you. And all those questions you have in your head, will I get back at the same level? I'm losing time here. All the others are getting better. Can I ever trust my knee or my shoulder, my back again? So all those questions, it's really important that athletes talk about that. And it doesn't have to be me as a sports psychologist, it can also be the coach. Or very often the coach is more important, because he has had that relationship over years with the athlete.
But they know, they have the experience with that, no?
Yeah, and just their relationship is stronger, because they know each other better. I think a lot of coaches, they kind of forget about the injured players. They think, okay, he has 6 more months to go, so I deal with him in 6 months' time. And that's really destructive for athletes. I'm just there supporting them, also trying again to reframe the situations. Okay, obviously sports injury sucks. So also it's okay if you feel bad. It's okay if you are frustrated, and just accept those emotions. But at the same time, what is positive in this situation? Most athletes, when I ask them that, they look at me like I'm crazy. But there's also always a positive aspect as well. Maybe you have more time to work on other aspects of your game now. Maybe this will help you to be more resilient later on. Like, in my eyes, we always develop the most in times of crisis, and sports injury is a crisis. So I'm trying to get across that message that.
So crises every time are good?
No, not every time, but I think, like, if you think back in your life, I would say, like, probably the biggest steps of self-development you probably did when your life wasn't perfect, and you had bad times and a crisis you had to fight through. And we have to fight through crisis and to be more resilient, to learn more about ourselves. I think sports injuries are a great opportunity for that. But at the same time, doesn't mean that they are great. Obviously, you have to accept that.
You have to struggle it, you have to feel it, you have to realize where you're going through, and then you are going to step further.
Yeah, and just take that whole experience to later on take it so that it helps you to be a better athlete, but again, better personal being as well. Because it's never just about sports. It's always you have to care about the person behind the athlete as well. I think that's an important message for coaches as well. Because even if the athlete is injured, the person is still there, so you can still care about the person. And if you don't talk to your injured athlete in 6 months, well, what message do you get across? Like, I don't really care about you as a person. Just come back as a player when you're ready. Let me know.
Every time at the end of the conversation of the podcast, I'm saying any advice, but with you, I'm not gonna say that, because the whole podcast you were giving us useful tools.
Thanks.
And the big word that I got today is accept. Mm-hmm. It would take you to the next level. Just making yourself aware of your feelings, of your emotion, accept it and fix it.
Yeah, I would say accepting is the first step, and then think about ways you can improve your situations, set goals, and try to achieve those goals.
Man, thank you 1,000 times for being with us. Hopefully, when you have time, 6 months or 8 months, I would like to have you back and talk deeper about a few topics, because I think people should know more about what is going on in our mind. We have some ideas, but we don't know how to deal with it. So thank you, Frank.
Thank you, and I will come back when I'm done with basketball. I have more time.
All right. Guys, thank you for one more episode. Don't forget, please, to subscribe, do the campanita in Spanish, subscribe, and comment about this lovely podcast. Ciao.